The crowd inside the Memphis concert hall roared as Elvis stepped onto the stage, guitar glistening under the golden lights. But in that electrifying moment, something unusual happened. A young woman in a simple blue dress quietly walked toward him. Security stopped her. No one recognized her face. Elvis paused, looked at her, and then, he smiled. With a gentle nod, he invited her to sing beside him. Gasps echoed across the room. Who was she? And why did Elvis look at her like he had known her forever? The stage lights dimmed slightly, leaving a single golden spotlight illuminating Elvis as he strummed the first gentle chords of a timeless ballad. The audience, expecting the usual electrifying energy, leaned forward in curiosity when they noticed the young woman step into the light beside him. She wore a simple blue dress, unadorned yet somehow luminous, her hair falling softly over her shoulders. There was no fanfare, no announcement, just her presence. And then, she began to sing. Her voice was not loud, not flamboyant, but utterly captivating. It carried a warmth that immediately gripped every heart in the room. It was a voice that seemed to tell a story far older than her years, a story of longing, hope, and quiet strength. At first, people exchanged confused glances. Who was she? How could someone so unknown evoke such profound emotion? Even the camera operators, trained to capture every angle of Elvis's legendary performance, paused for a moment, their lenses focusing on this mysterious stranger. Elvis himself slowed his playing, leaning slightly closer, listening as if rediscovering the song for the first time. Each note she sang intertwined with his, creating a harmony that felt almost sacred. The room felt suspended in time. Parents gripped their children's hands, teenagers froze mid-whisper, and the elderly wiped away tears they hadn't realized had begun to fall. There was a shared understanding in the silence. This was no ordinary duet. This was something deeper, something human. Her eyes, when they met Elvis's, shimmered with a mixture of nerves and familiarity, like two souls, recognizing each other across a lifetime. She didn't rush, didn't try to impress, she simply conveyed what she felt in that moment, raw and unfiltered. Her voice rose and fell with the ebb of the song, and with each crescendo, it felt like the very air in the room was vibrating with emotion. The audience's initial shock transformed into awe, an almost reverential silence broken only by the occasional gasp of disbelief. People leaned forward, some whispering prayers, others simply holding their breath, afraid that the magic might disappear. Elvis, a man who had captivated millions with his voice and charisma, allowed himself to be vulnerable. He glanced at her with an expression that spoke of nostalgia, longing, and an unspoken connection. His fingers trembled slightly on the guitar strings, not from fear, but from the overwhelming weight of the moment. Together, they sang, not as a celebrity and a stranger, but as two hearts echoing the same unspoken truths: love, forgiveness, and the beauty of being seen. By the time the chorus ended, the audience was on its feet, tears streaming down faces, hearts swelling in a way that only music and pure human connection can achieve. It wasn't just a song anymore, it was a bridge between two souls. A quiet testament to the power of compassion, understanding, and the profound effect one act of courage can have on the world. And in that moment, everyone realized something extraordinary. The night wasn't about a performance. It was about a human story unfolding in real time, one that would linger in the hearts of everyone present, forever. As the last notes of the opening verse faded into the stillness of the concert hall, something shifted in the room. The audience, previously held in awe by the young woman's voice, began to notice the subtle details that made her presence even more extraordinary. Her posture mirrored Elvis's, upright, yet relaxed, with a gentle sway to the rhythm that seemed innate, as if she had been born on a stage. Her expressions were equally familiar, small, effortless gestures that reminded people of the king himself. A tilt of the head, a raised brow, the way her lips curved into a knowing smile. The whispers began quietly, barely audible over the soft hum of the remaining music. She looks like him. Are they related? Some shook their heads, thinking their eyes were playing tricks. Others gasped softly, glancing at the screen projections to confirm what they were seeing. Her eyes, the same warm, hazel-brown shade as Elvis's, held an unmistakable spark and intensity that seemed to carry the weight of untold stories. And yet, there was no arrogance in her presence, only humility and quiet confidence. Elvis, sensing the audience's growing curiosity, glanced at her again. This time, his expression softened, his usually playful stage demeanor replaced by a deep, almost paternal tenderness. The connection between them was palpable, electric even, and it was impossible for the audience to ignore. Every chord he played, every word he sang, now felt like a dialogue between the two of them, layered with emotions that transcended music, longing, recognition, and perhaps even a sense of redemption. As the bridge of the song approached, the young woman's voice began to rise with subtle urgency. It was as though she was singing not just for the audience, but directly to him, to the man beside her. Reaching into the spaces between their shared glances, her voice trembled at times, not from fear, but from the sheer depth of feeling she was pouring into each note. The audience, caught in the tension of the moment, leaned forward in unison, their collective breath held in suspense. Every eye was glued to the pair, and every heart seemed to beat in rhythm with their song. A few members of the audience discreetly dabbed at tears, realizing that this performance was not simply about entertainment, it was a story unfolding before their eyes. A story of identity, of family, and of love, long withheld but not forgotten. They could sense the years of separation, the missed opportunities, the silent yearning that had finally been given a voice. Each chord, each note, each glance communicated a depth of emotion words could never capture. And then, in a moment of quiet brilliance, the young woman let her gaze sweep across the entire audience. For the first time, it felt like she was not just performing beside Elvis, but offering the gift of hope, reconciliation, and courage to everyone watching. People in the crowd began to smile through their tears, understanding that what they were witnessing was extraordinary in its humanity. Music had always been powerful, but this was transformative. By the time the verse ended, the audience no longer wondered about her identity, they were feeling it. Every person present knew, on some intuitive level, that they were witnessing a miracle, a union of hearts through song. A moment of recognition that would linger in memory far longer than any melody. And in that suspended silence, the world seemed to pause, collectively holding its breath for the revelation that was yet to come. The final chorus began softly, yet with a weight that could be felt in every corner of the concert hall. The young woman's voice wove seamlessly with Elvis's, rising and falling like a tide of emotion, drawing every listener into the intimate story they were sharing. Then, as the last note lingered in the air, a hush fell over the audience. Silence so profound, it felt sacred. Everyone in the hall instinctively knew that something monumental was about to happen. Elvis lowered his guitar and took a step closer to her. His usually playful smile had vanished, replaced by a mixture of awe, vulnerability, and longing. He held her hand gently, almost reverently, as if afraid to break the fragile, beautiful moment they had created together. The audience watched, breathless, sensing that the connection between these two performers was far deeper than music. There was history, here pain, hope, and perhaps even a story of missed years finally reaching its turning point. "My friends," Elvis began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "There's someone very special with me tonight. Someone I should have known a long time ago." His eyes glistened under the stage lights, fixed entirely on the young woman beside him. A collective murmur swept through the crowd: anticipation, curiosity, disbelief. Cameras zoomed in on her face, capturing the subtle emotions playing. Across her features, nervousness, relief, and something softer, warmer recognition. Then, with a trembling breath, Elvis said the words that would stop the world. "This is my daughter." The hall erupted in shock. Gasps, whispered exclamations, and stunned silence collided in a wave of collective astonishment. Some people jumped to their feet, tears streaming down their faces. Others covered their mouths in disbelief. For decades, rumors had swirled about Elvis having a daughter he never publicly acknowledged. The idea seemed almost mythical, and yet here she was, standing on stage with him, singing beside him, as if destiny itself had orchestrated this reunion. The young woman's eyes shone with tears, but her smile remained gentle and tender. She had rehearsed her words countless times in private, but nothing could prepare her for the weight of this moment. Finally, she spoke, her voice steady yet quivering with emotion. "Daddy, I've waited so long to meet you, not for fame or attention, but because I wanted you to know that I forgive you. I understand why things were the way they were, and I wanted to sing for you tonight, to finally let you hear my heart." Elvis's hand tightened around hers. He blinked rapidly, struggling to form words. In that instant, years of regret, longing, and unspoken love poured out silently in his eyes. He drew her into a tender embrace, the audience holding its collective breath as father and daughter connected after decades of separation. The hug was not just a gesture, it was a bridge across time, a symbol of forgiveness, understanding, and the enduring power of family. The crowd, moved beyond reason, watched in awe. Many wept openly, realizing that the night was not merely a performance, but a living testament to the power of reconciliation. The music had been the invitation, the duet had been the bridge, and now the revelation had completed the journey. This was a story of lost time regained, of hearts finding each other against all odds, a story that would linger in their memories forever. After the stunned silence settled across the hall, Elvis and his daughter remained locked in a long, tender embrace. The audience, sensing the raw vulnerability radiating from the stage, sat in quiet reverence, their hearts swelling with empathy. This was not just a concert, it was a private moment made public, a glimpse into the profound human need for connection, forgiveness, and love. The young woman finally pulled back slightly, just enough to look into her father's eyes. Her voice, steady yet soft, carried a weight that filled the entire hall. "Daddy," she said, her tone gentle but firm, "I've spent my whole life wondering about you. But I didn't come here tonight to demand explanations or to feel anger. I came to tell you, I forgive you." The words hung in the air, fragile yet powerful, as if a spell had been cast over everyone present. Elvis's face softened in a way that only genuine relief and overwhelming emotion can create. Tears streamed down his cheeks, and for the first time, he seemed entirely human, not the icon, not the legend, not the king, but a father finally reunited with his daughter. He whispered her name, almost reverently, and the audience could hear the trembling reverberate through the hall. "My daughter, my beautiful daughter." The music, which had momentarily faded into silence, began again, this time as a soft, ambient accompaniment. Elvis picked up his guitar, but now the song was different, slower, more intimate, as if every note were an apology, a promise, and a declaration of love. The young woman joined him once more, their voices blending in perfect harmony. Not for fame, not for applause, but for healing. Each verse spoke of understanding, patience, and the power of forgiveness. The audience watched in awe as father and daughter shared smiles, glances, and subtle gestures that conveyed decades of longing. Her hand occasionally brushed his, their movements instinctively in sync, creating a rhythm that was both musical and profoundly human. Some in the crowd whispered quietly, this is what love looks like," while others wept openly, unable to contain the emotions stirred by witnessing such a pure reconciliation. In that moment, the hall felt transformed. It was no longer just a concert venue. It had become a sanctuary of shared humanity. Strangers felt connected through the universal themes unfolding before them. The pain of separation, the courage to forgive, and the healing power of being truly seen. Children watched their parents cry. Teenagers glimpsed the vulnerability of even the greatest icons. And everyone in between felt a quiet reminder that time, distance, and mistakes do not have to define relationships forever. As the song reached its final chords, the young woman leaned slightly toward Elvis and whispered something inaudible to the crowd. Elvis nodded, his eyes glistening with tears and gratitude. The embrace they shared afterward was gentle, unhurried, and utterly authentic, father and daughter, choosing love over resentment, compassion over bitterness. The audience erupted in applause, not for the spectacle of talent, but for the spectacle of humanity. At its most genuine and transformative, it was a night that would live in the hearts of everyone present. A night that proved the most powerful music is not played on instruments, but in the quiet, courageous acts of forgiveness and love. The final notes of the song lingered in the air like a whispered promise, fading slowly as father and daughter stood side by side, hands still intertwined. The audience remained in stunned silence, many unable to comprehend the depth of what they had just witnessed. It wasn't just a performance, it was a reunion, a living testament to the power of human connection, forgiveness, and the transformative magic of compassion. Elvis, usually larger than life and larger than his own legend, finally turned to address the crowd. His voice was softer than anyone had ever heard, tinged with vulnerability yet full of authority. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "tonight isn't about the music we make, the songs we sing, or the fame we earn. Tonight is about the kindness we extend, the love we share, and the forgiveness we choose to give." A wave of emotion swept through the hall. Some listeners wiped tears from their eyes, others nodded quietly, deeply affected by the gravity of his words. There was a collective understanding. The night had transcended entertainment. It had become a lesson in empathy, a reminder that even the greatest legends are human, and even the deepest wounds can heal when courage and love guide the way. The young woman smiled at her father, a serene, radiant expression that carried the quiet strength of someone who had endured years of uncertainty and longing. She had faced the unknown, taken the courageous step onto a stage in front of thousands, and extended forgiveness without expectation. Her bravery illuminated the hall far brighter than any spotlight could. When she raised her voice once more to sing a short, tender verse with Elvis, it felt as though the music itself was embracing every listener, reminding them that the greatest harmony comes not from instruments, but from hearts attuned to one another. The audience, now on its feet, erupted in a thunderous ovation. Applause, mixed with cheers, tears, and heartfelt cries of joy filled the space. Strangers embraced, clapping each other on the back, some even laughing through tears. Cameras captured the moment, but no photograph could truly capture the emotions in that room, the mingling of awe, relief, inspiration, and hope. For Elvis, the moment was life-changing. The reconciliation with his daughter filled a void he had carried quietly for decades. For her, it was a realization of courage and selflessness. Proof that forgiveness can be a gift, not just to others, but to oneself. And for the audience, the night became a universal lesson, that no matter how long the silence, how deep the pain, or how complicated the past, choosing love and compassion can create moments of profound transformation. As father and daughter took their final bow, the crowd's applause continued, echoing long after the music had ended. People left the hall with hearts lighter and spirits lifted, carrying the memory of a night where music, love, and humanity intertwined to create something eternal. It was more than a concert. It was a reminder that kindness and forgiveness have the power to heal, connect, and inspire, and that, in the end, the most unforgettable performances are those that touch the soul, leaving the world a little brighter than it was before.